A young black boy named Marcus boarded a plane with his mother, excited for their trip to visit family. It was his first time flying, and he could hardly contain his enthusiasm. He clutched his backpack tightly as they walked down the aisle, his eyes wide with wonder as he peered at the other passengers and the intricate details of the airplane. They found their seats near the back of the plane, and Marcus immediately started asking his mother questions about how the plane worked and what it would feel like when they took off. His mother, patient and kind, answered as best as she could, but Marcus's excitement drew the attention of a nearby flight attendant. The flight attendant, a tall woman with perfectly styled hair and a crisp uniform, gave Marcus and his mother a stern look. She walked over, her demeanor cold. "Young man," she said sharply, "you need to sit down and keep quiet. This isn't a playground." Marcus looked up, confused. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said politely. "I'm just excited because it's my first flight." The flight attendant's lips thinned into a disapproving line. "Well, excitement doesn't excuse being disruptive," she snapped. Marcus's mother intervened, her tone calm but firm. "Excuse me, Mom, but my son isn't being disruptive. He's just asking questions, like any curious child would." The flight attendant rolled her eyes. "Well, maybe you should teach him to keep his curiosity to himself," she said before walking off. Marcus's face fell, and he looked down at his lap. His mother gently squeezed his hand, whispering words of comfort. But the flight attendant wasn't done. Throughout the flight, she seemed to go out of her way to single Marcus out. When the snack cart came around, she skipped there entirely. When Marcus asked for a blanket because he was cold, she told him they had run out only for him to see her handing a blanket to another passenger minutes later. The other passengers began to notice the flight attendant's behavior. Whispers started to circulate, and a few people exchanged uncomfortable glances. Marcus's mother did her best to shield her son from the flight attendant's harsh treatment, but it was clear that Marcus felt hurt and confused. The turning point came when Marcus accidentally dropped his toy car in the aisle. He leaned down to pick it up, but before he could, the flight attendant swooped in. "You can't just leave your trash everywhere," she said loudly, her voice dripping with disdain. "People like you need to learn some manners." The cabin fell silent. Marcus's mother stood up, her face a mask of controlled fury. "What do you mean by a people like us?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with anger. Before the flight attendant could respond, a man seated nearby, a white man in a business suit, stood up as well. "Excuse me," he said loudly, addressing the flight attendant, "but I think we all know what you meant by that, and it's unacceptable." Another passenger, an older woman, chimed in. "This child has done nothing wrong. If anyone's being disruptive, it's you." One by one, passengers began to speak up, voicing their support for Marcus and his mother. Some demanded to speak to the airline's management. Others pulled out their phones to record the incident. The flight attendant's face turned red, and she stammered as she tried to defend herself. But it was too late. The passengers had rallied around Marcus and his mother, making it clear that such behavior would not be tolerated. When the plane landed, the passengers waited for Marcus and his mother to disembark first, applauding them as they walked down the aisle. The airline staff, alerted to the situation by the passengers' complaints, met them at the gate and assured them that the incident would be thoroughly investigated. In the days that followed, the story went viral. Passengers who had recorded the incident posted the videos online, and people around the world were outraged by the flight attendant's behavior. The airline issued a public apology to Marcus and his family, and the flight attendant was suspended pending an investigation. But the story didn't end there. Marcus, inspired by the outpouring of support he received, decided to use the experience as a lesson. With the help of his mother, he started a YouTube channel where he talked about kindness, respect, and standing up for what's right. His first video, titled "How I Turned a Bad Experience into a Lesson for Everyone," gained millions of views. Marcus's message was simple: no matter how people treat you, always remember your worth. and if you see someone being treated unfairly, don't stay silent or stand up for them. His story became a symbol of resilience and the power of standing together against injustice. And in the end, Marcus's first flight turned into a journey that inspired countless people to be better, kinder, and braver. Marcus's YouTube channel quickly gained traction, with thousands of subscribers flooding in every day. People from all walks of life were drawn to his videos, not just for his story, but for his insightful way of addressing topics like discrimination, self-esteem, and perseverance. Marcus's mother often joined him in the videos, sharing her perspective and offering advice to parents on how to teach their children resilience in the face of adversity. One day, Marcus received an email from someone unexpected, the CEO of the airline. The email apologized once again for the incident on the flight and invited Marcus and his mother to the company's headquarters to discuss how the airline could improve its staff training and policies. Marcus's mother was hesitant at first, worried it might just be a PR move. But Marcus, wise beyond his years, said, "If they're willing to listen, we should give them a chance." When they arrived at the headquarters, they were greeted warmly by the airline's executive team. The CEO admitted that while the company had protocols for customer service, there was a clear need for better training on diversity, inclusion, and bias. They proposed a partnership with Marcus and his mother to create a new training program for their staff, using Marcus's story as an example of why such training was crucial. Marcus eagerly agreed, and over the next few months, he and his mother worked with experts to develop a comprehensive program. The program included workshops, real-life scenarios, and open discussions about how unconscious biases could lead to unfair treatment. Marcus even filmed a short video for the program, sharing his experience and encouraging the airline's employees to treat every passenger with kindness and respect. As the program rolled out, Marcus's efforts received widespread attention. News outlets covered the story, praising the young boy for turning a painful experience into a movement for change. People began sharing their own stories of facing discrimination, creating a ripple effect of awareness and understanding. One day, during a live Q&A on his channel, Marcus received a surprising comment from a viewer. It was from the flight attendant. She wrote, "Marcus, I owe you and your mother the biggest apology. I've watched your videos and realized how wrong I was that day. I was going through a lot in my personal life and took it out on you, but that's no excuse. Thank you for teaching me what it means to be better. I'm so sorry." Marcus paused as he read the message aloud, his audience waiting in silence to hear his response. He looked into the camera, his expression thoughtful. "Thank you for apologizing," he said. "It takes a lot of courage to admit when you're wrong. I forgive you, and I hope you can take what you've learned and spread kindness to others." The comment section erupted with support for Marcus's gracious response, praising him for his maturity and compassion. His words resonated deeply with his viewers, reinforcing his message that forgiveness and understanding could lead to real change. As Marcus's channel grew, so did his influence. He was invited to speak at schools, conferences, and community events, inspiring both children and adults to stand up against injustice and treat others with respect. He became a symbol of resilience and hope, proof that even the smallest voices could spark the biggest changes. Years later, when Marcus boarded another flight, he noticed something different. The flight attendants greeted him warmly, and one even recognized him from his videos. As he took his seat, he felt a sense of pride, knowing that his journey had made a difference not just for himself, but for countless others. And so, what started as a moment of humiliation turned into a lifetime of empowerment. Marcus's story was proof that no matter how young or small someone might seem, their voice could echo loudly enough to change the world. As Marcus grew older, his platform continued to expand. His YouTube channel turned into a global movement called the Change Initiative, which focused on spreading awareness about equality, kindness, and resilience. Schools worldwide adopted his workshops, and governments began inviting him to participate in discussions about educational reforms and anti-bullying campaigns. Despite his fame, Marcus remained humble. He never forgot where he came from and how that one flight had sparked a journey he never expected. He often revisited the airline's headquarters, checking in on the diversity training program he had helped create. The CEO even shared that since the program's implementation, customer satisfaction scores had improved significantly, and instances of discrimination complaints had drastically reduced. Years passed, and Marcus, now a young adult, decided to write a book about his experiences. From Hurt to Hope, My Journey to Making a Difference became a bestseller, touching millions of lives. In the book, he detailed not only his story but also the stories of others he had met along the way, people who had faced challenges and used their pain as a catalyst for positive change. The flight attendant who had once humiliated Marcus also became a part of his story. After leaving the airline, she dedicated her life to advocating for workplace equality. She and Marcus spoke at several events together, showing the world that growth and redemption were possible when people were willing to confront their biases and learn from their mistakes. The final chapter of Marcus's story came when he was invited to deliver a TED Talk. Standing on the stage, looking out at a sea of faces, he began, "When I was a little boy, I was made to feel smaller, like I didn't matter. But that moment taught me something powerful, that we all have the ability to turn pain into purpose. And when we stand together, when we choose kindness, we can change the world. I'm living proof of that." The audience gave him a standing ovation, their applause echoing in the auditorium. Marcus smiled, his heart full of gratitude. As he left the stage, he reflected on how far he had come. The scared, humiliated boy on that plane had grown into a confident, compassionate leader. His story had become a beacon of hope for others, reminding the world that even in the face of prejudice and hardship, there was always an opportunity for growth, understanding, and change. Marcus's journey ended not with bitterness or anger, but with a legacy of love, forgiveness, and the belief that one person's voice could make a difference. And as he walked off that stage, he knew his mission was far from over. It was only just beginning.